Ladies and sinners, welcome to another Tuesday evening edition of the Sin City Sports Show presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Kayle Henderson. We're at it again, folks. Another Tuesday evening talking about our favorite sports city, the fastest growing sports market in America. If you guys want to get a hold of us, you want to talk to us, you want to interact with our show, get at me at SinCity_IESR on X or at Kayle_Henderson. We talk all things Vegas sports, primarily the Raiders. You guys know they're tumultuous. They suck. The bad franchise. It's a franchise that allows the Bears to beat them for the coveted head coach. The coach that's been coveted for 2 years. But that's a Raiders thing to do. What a Raiders thing to do. Shouldn't be shocked. Don't know why I ever am. But it is what it is, guys. You just hope it'd be better by now. You would. You'd hope it'd be better by now, but Mark Davis is trash. And listen, I'm going to give Tom Brady the benefit of the doubt because he's Tom Brady. I think he knows how to find football people. I just hope they make smart decisions now with what's available to them when it comes to the head coaching decision, because I feel like you need to get the head coach and then get the GM. Your head coach has to set the culture. Your GM is not going to set the culture. Your GM is not going to do the same thing or have the same effect a head coach is. So that is important to me. We get back here on the Sin City Sports Show. We're going to dive right into the Vegas Golden Knights and then the Raiders for the last half of the show, where we talk about their options this coming off season here on the Sin City Sports Show presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
Welcome back, ladies and sinners. Welcome back to the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Kayle Henderson. You guys can get at us on Twitter, on X, at SinCity_IESR, at Kayle_Henderson. We talk all things Vegas sports. If you guys miss a show, you have nothing to worry about because you can follow us on X, IG, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube at IE Sports Radio. You can go to IESportsRadio.com. Check out the individual shows. Also, check out my teammates. They do a great job as well. You can go to IESportsRadio.com/SinCitySports. IE Sports Radio is available on Apple Pods, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Pods, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, CastBox, Deezer. So basically any major platform, you have no problems getting a hold of the show, listening back, chiming in, giving me your opinion on my takes. I love that. I love that type of feedback. I also like to have a little banter from time to time because that's what we do, man. That's what it's all about. Again, get at us on X at SinCity_IESR, where we talk about all things Vegas sports. Shout out to our sponsors, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, jerky that's on a whole other planet. Order here at planetjerky.net. If you go to Planet Jerky, order a bag, go to Instagram, post that you've eaten that or ordered that, tag Planet Jerky, you get a free bag of jerky. It's a great promo. Take advantage of it. And you can mix flavors, man. Between the spiciest ones to the mild to the sweets, you can mix them. Give it a shot. Go to planetjerky.net. Order it. On IG, they're on Planet Jerky. IE Sports Radio, man, proudly partnered with Vital Apparel. Big shout out to Vital Apparel, man. I'm trying to get back in my swing of things, my groove when it comes to the gym. I think it's massive for mental health. I also love that this partner is also an advocate for mental health in the sense that proceeds go to it, man. Like not all proceeds, but some proceeds will go to this. Will go to this cause of guiding people on a journey in the gym. And it means something, guys. Fitness is huge. Your average person that lifts 3 to 4 days a week lives almost 25 to 30% longer than somebody who's not active, who's sedentary. They are less likely to have Alzheimer's, heart disease, cancer effects. I mean, dude, I'm telling you, working out makes a difference. It's not easy sometimes. The hardest thing to do is just getting there consistently. I mean, that's half the battle, is getting there. The other half of the battle is making sure you eat well after you do it. So lot of love for this. Get 15% off your comfortable and inspiring gym wear by using the code IESR. Shout out to Vital Wear. Thank you so much, Vital Apparel. Seal the Deal Wax Seals, the entrepreneur, the man, the myth, the legend, the lady, the myth, the legend, Larry B's babysitter, Cecilia B. Give her a shout out. Take a look at her website at Seal the Deal Wax Seals. Order there at iesportsradio.com/Seal the Deal Wax Seals. Again, you can't miss a show. We're on every major deal. And then a shout out to our newest sponsor, Raw Nutrition Supplements. Get rawnutrition.com. Use promo code IESR for 10% off. Again, supplements, Vital Wear. I think Larry's onto something this year. I really do. I think Larry's onto something this year, man. You're going to find all you need in the gym and in the kitchen, of course. If I were to build a house right now, my kitchen would be dope. I spend a lot of time there. Why wouldn't I invest in that? Gas stove, probably some Hexclad pans, because if they're Gordon Ramsay's favorite, why not? I'm just saying, man. Get in the kitchen. 80% of you cannot work out, eat really healthy, and you're going to be slim. You're going to feel great. No joke. Especially men out there. It makes a huge difference. Huge difference on your health, on your mental health. Huge difference. On to the Vegas Golden Knights, folks. Vegas Golden Knights are kind of in a lull right now, losing 4 straight. They're still atop of the Pacific Division, but they're only atop by half a game at this point. If you guys remember last week, they had a 2.5 game lead. So losing 4 in a row matters, especially when the team behind you, the Oilers, almost the exact same record. They just haven't played as many games. I think they're playing tonight. They could end up tying this up or jumping ahead of the Golden Knights. Golden Knights are just hurting right now, dude. I think they're dealing with some minor injuries. All of a sudden, they're losing their away games, which, I mean, they had only had like 4 or 5 losses in all their away games this year. Now they're at 8, and they're doing more shootouts than what they did before. So that puts them in a bad spot. Their point differential is still very favorable at plus 28. But when you win the last, I think their last 10 is 4-5-1. You've lost 4 straight. Not a good look. You really need to turn things around. And how they do that, I mean, it's pretty simple, dude. Jack Eichel's really got to continue to play the way Jack Eichel's been playing the start of the year anyway. Jack Eichel is the bread and butter of this team. He's got 58 points. At one point, I thought, this guy is a surefire 100-point player. During these 4 losses, he's been pretty quiet. Now, again, it's not a huge deal because if you win your division, you're in good shape. You don't want the President's Trophy. We talked about this. You don't want the President's Trophy in NHL. It doesn't do anything for you because guess what? The last 10 teams to win the President's Trophy have lost in the first round. The last 10 teams to win the President's Trophy, to have the best regular season in all of hockey, have lost in the first round. That's a curse, dude. It's one thing if it's 1 or 2 years, you can write it off. 10 years? Come on. That's a lot. But yeah, they need Jack Eichel to continue to do what he's doing. From a goaltending perspective, Adin Hill is absolutely, I mean, he's still been killing it. 18-8-3. He's just, there's something going on with Adin. I think he's still battling some injuries or lingering injuries because he doesn't seem as healthy as he was the year before. Or especially the championship year where he got real healthy going into the playoffs. And I think the man allowed like a total of 4 goals in 3 series. Like, it was disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Adin Hill is nasty when he's on it and he's healthy. So much so, I mean, we're looking at what's this? Adin Hill, he's got a 90% save percentage. Samsonov's not doing bad. He's at 89%. Goals attended, yeah. So shootouts are tough, man. That's tough. You're isolating your goalie. You got about 5 different shooters going at you and giving you, taking their best shot, and it's just a different adjustment each time. NHL goalie, next to the NFL quarterback, the NHL goalie has to be like the hardest position in sports to play. You'd have a hard time arguing with me on that. You're isolated, man. Yeah, you get help from defensive men. Usually the team is trying to keep the puck away from the net, but is there anything harder than an NHL goalie? I mean, other than NFL quarterback with all they have to process and everything they have to do, the premium that's set on a quarterback position in today's football, I don't know if anything's harder than an NHL goalie. You have a small black puck, rubber puck, hard as rock because it's just sliding across ice cold ice for 60 minutes at a time. Sorry, yes, 60 minutes at a time. I mean, dude, that thing slings at you. It's fast. If one of your defensemen's in your eyesight for a centimeter, you could lose track of the puck, especially with the way these guys slap shots are over 100 miles an hour. I mean, dude, I don't know. NHL goalie would be tough. That's why a lot of these goalies are just genetically freaks now. Like, Aiden Hill is not a small guy. Aiden Hill's 6'4", 215. That's a good-sized human being. A really good-sized human being. I want to say that the legend out of New York Rangers, I don't know why it's slipping me all of a sudden. I think he was 6'6". That's incredible. A goalie that's 6'6"? How big and long do you have to be? I mean, to me, that's incredible. But right now, Aiden, I mean, he's not as solid as he was 2 years ago, but he's about middle of the pack when it comes to goalies, as far as goals against average, right? Wins, losses, he's tied 5th. That's a lot of that's a team effort. I think the Golden Knights have a really good defensive backfield or defensive team. Shootouts, tied 9th. So as long as the Golden Knights hover around these top 5 rankings in wins and losses, this won't be a problem. They're going to get the first round bye. It's hard to play in Vegas. Vegas fans are absolutely nuts. They show up in the playoffs. We saw that 2 years ago. That was phenomenal to see. Yeah, Vegas Golden Knights are a really good team. And I think as long as they continue to do what they're doing, they'll be fine. You got to overcome some of these injuries, and you got to get guys healthy, and you got to start going on a run, especially with this All-Star break coming up soon. Dude, it's just not the time. It's not the time at all. You need your guys there and ready to go, and they need to go on a run. They do this every half of the year, though. The back half of the year, the Golden Knights go on an absolute tear where they'll score points in like 12 straight games and put themselves in position to be a 1 or 2 seed. They do it every year because they're that solid of a team. They're built very well. They've been built well since their inception, man. 7 years ago. They got 1 title in 7 years. That's incredible. The way that they've managed their situations way better than the way the Seattle Kraken have. So, I mean, I think Golden Knights are starting to be a gold standard of hockey. Really. They're consistent every year. They've missed 1 year of the playoffs. 1 year. This team is excellent. And it was by like 3 points, and it's because their starters were injured half the season. Like, let's be real. Really, really good hockey team. Really, really good hockey team. They got to keep doing what they're doing. First place in the Pacific. The next few games for the Golden Knights, they are looking at, well, they got the Blues coming up. They lost to them 5-4 recently, giving up 2 late goals. That was kind of heartbreaking considering you had a 4-3 lead, give up 2 late goals. That's never fun. You got the Blues coming up here. That should be a competitive game. I think St. Louis is better than they've been in a while. Dallas, Florida, Dallas. So this isn't an easy 4-game stretch. If you can go win at 3 out of the 4, get a shootout tie, whatever you want to talk about, shootout loss, because that gives you at least a point. You need to score in all 4 games. That's something the Golden Knights just really need to focus on. Don't overthink things. You're 2 months out from playoffs. Concentrate on scoring points on 95% of your games, and this is going to be an easy season. Very easy season. I do love how you can watch more hockey than you ever have in the past. ESPN Plus, ESPN, ABC, obviously those are all networks. Max, True TV, TNT. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to watch hockey anymore. I think we're actually in an age, man, where streaming has actually changed the game in the sense that nothing is out of question when it comes to watching your favorite teams, your favorite programming. There's a package everywhere. NHL.tv is excellent if you need to catch up to the Vegas Golden Knights or any of the Pacific Division teams because they are out west. So give that a check. Check that out, folks. Check that out. We're going to go to a quick break here. We're going to let some of our teammates kind of strut their stuff. And when we get back here, we're going to dive right into the Raiders for the last half of the show. A lot to talk about with the Raiders, guys. They missed out on their top head coaching candidate, the one that was linked to the Raiders by most Raiders beat writers. Kind of goes to show you, like, no offense to them, but you can't quite listen to them because their sources are full of shit. They don't quite know what they're doing. Read the tea leaves, man. Like, I thought Ben Johnson was the favorite for the Raiders. I wasn't sure he was the favorite to get hired. And if I remember correctly, the last 2 weeks, I told you guys who I thought were the better options, and it didn't work out. Quick chime in from Taryn Rodriguez. Thanks for joining, Taryn. You're the man. Taryn says the Vegas Thrill, the Pro Volleyball Federation's pro women's volleyball team, went 2-0 last week, beating the Omaha Supernovas and Orlando Valkyries at home in 5 sets on Friday and Saturday. Thanks for the volleyball news, brother. Sorry about that. A little tired. Been burning the candle both ends. Got a baby. Going back to work. Things have just been crazy. Yeah, it's going nuts. We're going to take a quick break here on the Sin City Sports Show, guys. Presented by Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, sports fans. It's me, your boy Larry B, and I want to walk you through the world of sports. No, not just the mainstream major TV deal type sports, although those are important too. But let me be your guide through your journey of all sports, from college to the pros, the minors, and everything in between. Each week, we are talking sports galore with true diehards just like you from a hardcore fan's perspective that's sure to quench your thirst around leagues you may know all too well and some you may even discover here. That's right, sports fans. If you love sports of all kinds, enjoy hearing amazing sports stories, and respect all sports because you know how difficult any of them can be to play or compete in, then this is your show. Join me, your boy Larry B, on The Defining Moment each week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports, and let the sports come to you.
Welcome back to the Sin City Sports Show presented by Sports Radio Direct Feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Kayle Henderson. We can get after it every Tuesday evening, guys. 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central. Sorry, I buffered for a little bit there because the video was switching around. Still got to get used to this video thing, man. I remember the podcast days. I mean, realistically, I got a face for radio. Let's be honest, a face for radio, to say the least. Lot to talk about, though. We got the Raiders coming up here. Before we do that, we're going to shout out to our teammates there. Adam Karnick, host of Chi-Town Weekly, co-host of the Neutral Zone here on IE Sports Radio, does a great job of talking about his Chi-Town sports, as well as hockey, NHL hockey, college hockey, minor league hockey. They do a great job of covering those things. On top of that, you got Larry B, the man, the myth, the legend himself, with the Defining Moment. College, 3 and out, all 3 editions, if you will. pro, college. I mean, they talk about everything. They do a great job. They kick ass, take names. Shout out to Taryn Rodriguez, who's here in the chat, co-host of 3 and Out, major shows here on IE Sports Radio by the flagship man himself, Larry B. Taryn is a co-host in those, as well as the SoCal Supreme Sports Show and the Set Point Show, the resident volleyball expert here. So we got great teammates, guys, a wide variety of people who cover sports. Here, we cover Vegas sports. Primarily, we cover my favorite team, the team that tends to stab me in the back on a yearly basis, the Las Vegas Raiders. I love saying it like that, man. It reminds me of those days when Boomer, right? He was going off on ESPN. Gotta love that. Chris Berman. Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. You guys know what I'm talking about. Chris Berman was the man. He was the absolute man. But the way he said the Raiders during highlights, and there weren't many highlights over the last 20 years, there just haven't been many highlights. Like, the Raiders are shit. They're a trash franchise. It's hard to say anything otherwise. There's so much to be desired about, man. You got the best colors. I think some of the best jerseys in the league, right? Love the helmet, love the shield. It's amazing. I think the Raiders have a lot of things going for them. Vegas is crazy right now. Vegas is doing crazy things. I've said this for the last 2 years. Vegas is the fastest growing sports market. Soon they will have an NFL team licensed to print money. NHL, right? Major League Baseball. And around the corner, I'm sure they're going to start talking NBA. The problem is, can you keep athletes out of trouble? That's what the Raiders have had trouble doing. Shit, they had a report this year. I can't remember the player, but they had a report this year of a guy getting in trouble. Surprised he wasn't cut after the Henry Ruggs situation. I don't think Vegas should mess around with that anymore. But the Raiders always find themselves in trouble. Why? Incompetent ownership. We talk about this on a weekly basis. Incompetent ownership. There's just no way around it, dude. Mark Davis is terrible. Can he make money? Evidently. He can turn a $970 million franchise into a $6.8 billion franchise in 5 years by making one move. And yes, it was Al Davis's dream to always play in Vegas. Don't get me wrong. But come on, man. Like, let's be real here. Mark Davis, since he became the owner 15 years ago, has 4 or 5 head coaches in that time. We're averaging 1 every 3 years. But when you add all the interims and the trouble, I mean, telling you guys, it's just been so bad. Tumultuous. Tumultuous to say the least. Just horrible. Horrible ownership. And it's hard to overcome that. It's so hard that the guys had to bring in minority owners that just got out of the NFL a few years ago. Richard Seymour, Tom Brady. I mean, dude. I just don't know what Mark Davis is thinking. I don't know who he's listening to. But half the people he's listening to probably have no effing clue about football. And here's the thing. Those guys may know business. I'll give them a ton of credit on that. They're going to know light years the amount of information that I do about business. But I can sit here and tell you right now, none of those idiots that he's been listening to, like Ken Herrock and them, have any clue how to build a team. Not one clue. I may not be an expert. I may not have a ton of experience, but I can tell you right now, if I was in charge of drafts the last 10 years, we don't have as many misses as we do. Plain and simple. And it's because I love the game and I study it. Mark Davis has no idea what he's doing. So he has to lean on a former 7-time Super Bowl champ who's never actually run a football team to give him an opinion. And don't get me wrong, I'm excited about this Tom Brady era. I think Tom Brady wants to win. That's all he wants to do. Just being honest. In this case, is it more important Vegas gets the GM hire right than the coach hire, unless Brady is going to pretend to be GM and Fox announcer? Good question, Rick. In my opinion, I think you get the head coach first because the head coach is going to be the culture setter. Like, the head coach is going to bring in the schemes. The head coach is going to set the precedent of what that team is going to look like, how the culture is going to look like in the building. Then you hire your GM. There are so many people out there that are GM candidates. There are more GM candidates out there than there are head coaches, in my opinion. So if you have a top quality, highly qualified head coach, you go out and get him, and then you hire a GM that can work with this head coach. And I don't think you give the head coach all the power. I think during interviews you have this conversation and say, "Hey, we're going to hire you, but we're going to get your opinion on whether you can work with this guy or not. But we're going to go out and get the best guy available after we hire you." Like, I just feel like the head coach is the priority, because so much is revolved around the team building of a head coach. GMs don't go to those team meetings and sit in there and sing kumbaya with the players. They pick the players, they choose the ingredients at the grocery store. It is the head coach's job to cook with the ingredients given to them. It's that simple. So that's kind of the issue. Like, we're now getting into the age of football where head coaches apparently need to feel like they have the answers, like they have roster control. John Gruden did. Obviously, that was a failure. Now, there were some really good players. Like Max Crosby was phenomenal. We can't say he wasn't. Colton Miller's been killer. Josh Jacobs is absolutely still killing it. Like, there's been a lot of good players. Right now, Trayvon Moehrig looks like he's going to be a stud for years to come. These were all Mike Mayock, John Gruden players. Then you had the really bad ones like the Cleveland Farrell. That might be one of the biggest busts of all time. And I don't even know if it's not Cleveland's fault. Cleveland's going to accept the money that he gets. He's going to get drafted where he gets drafted. But that was the biggest reach in NFL history. Yes, they had a need at defensive end. Do you really? I don't think, and this is my opinion, I don't think they could find a partner for that trade back from number 4 to wherever. I just don't think they could find a partner. That doesn't mean you reach on the 23rd overall ranked player in most mocks, in most rankings. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, just fall back. Like, Sweat was in the same draft, wasn't he? He's killing it for the Eagles. You could have drafted him at 4. I would have batted less of an eye. And I don't know if that's because he's found success and he's played pretty well over the years. I'm just being honest with you. I think the draft picks for Gruden weren't amazing, but he found some gems. They were studs. He knew what to do. And you were seeing improvement. That doesn't mean I want to run it back with Gruden. So that brings us to our first topic. What are we looking at a head coach now? Here's what I've been saying for a couple weeks. Okay. Have I been wrong? Absolutely. I admit that. I'm not one of your regular beat writers that's going to come out and tell you, oh, this guy's going to get hired. That I never said. Did I think that Ben Johnson was the top candidate for the Las Vegas Raiders? 100%. He was the top candidate for majority of the teams hiring the last 2 years. And you can't tell me otherwise. Seriously, Ben Johnson's very highly regarded. Like, there are guys like Rex Ryan on ESPN saying that Ben Johnson's a stud. He could be the next Bill Walsh. I don't know how you get that comparison or where you come from, but Rex Ryan's been around the league for a long time. If he wants to say that, he can say that. So Ben Johnson was the hire. I totally agree with that. But if you guys have listened to my show the last 2 weeks, you'd know that he was third on my list. Third on my list. And I say this as somebody who coaches on the side. I'm a high school coach. I'm heavily involved, man. Seriously. I'm trying to help build a team in Lincoln, Nebraska from the ground up. We're going into year 3. We've had to start out with just freshmen, sophomores to now freshmen through juniors. And next year will be our first year of seniors. There's like 6 seniors, but still, it's been a progression thing. It's high school, but it's not too far apart. Believe it or not, you're still building team. You're still building culture. And that is the thing that the Raiders lack the most, is an accountability culture, a culture of accountability, a culture of ownership. It's something they've lacked for 20 years, like horrifically for 20 years. Even John Gruden had a hard time or struggle, trying to change that narrative. He was getting there until what was leaked was leaked. Again, witch hunt by the NFL. Totally agree with that. But you say what you say, man, you lose your job. You guys could look through any of my emails and texts. I promise you, from the last 30 years, I'm 33, so not 30 years. For the last 17 years, promise you wouldn't find one N-word or derogatory statement like that in my text messages. I just don't think that way. I don't think people should. That's why he lost his job. That's why he was forced to resign. Doesn't mean it was right. His privacy was absolutely leaked to the public on purpose. It was a witch hunt. Part of why I believe Goodell and them are trying to help Brady find a candidate. Here's no secret to the NFL, guys. If the Raiders are good, the NFL is making more money because Raiders fans spend money, and they're a blue chip team. Like if there were blue chip teams in the NFL, the Raiders are most certainly one of them. I mean, the Cowboys, Niners, you know, those teams are most certainly going to be in those talks. The Steelers, just saying, man, legendary teams, right? They're the blue chip teams. So, what do the Raiders do now? Well, Ben Johnson decided to take the Chicago Bears. I don't blame him. If you're looking at both situations and you're Ben Johnson, I think he picked the safer pick. I think they have good players. They've just had atrocious coaching. They have a lot of studs over there. And most importantly, you have a young, talented quarterback that you can mold to your system. I think if they can find a way to get Caleb Williams, and that's been the challenge for guys like him, to play within the system and play on time, he's going to be one of the most dangerous quarterbacks in the league. And Ben Johnson's got a stout, talented gunslinger for years to come. So I don't blame Ben Johnson for picking the Bears. Do I think it was the right move? Not necessarily, no. But they have more assets right now. That's just case in point. And it's because the Raiders have done a terrible job of building teams over the last few years. You just don't have depth. You don't have anything to take over. So what do I think happens next? If you've listened to the show the last 3 weeks, week 1, my top pick was Mike Vrabel. I said that stoutedly. Man, you guys heard it here. You heard it here first. You guys heard it here. Shout out to Andrew Santino. Bad Friends. Hilarious show. You guys heard it here. I was big on Vrabel because Vrabel's an accountability guy. Yes, he's well known across the league to be one of the best, smartest football guys, period, in the NFL. And I think he's going to kill it in New England. Like, match made in heaven, right? And all he needs is a GM to do exactly what he needs him to do, which is get him some ingredients, man. Let him work. And that's what screwed him at the Titans. But that was my week 1 choice. As soon as I found out that he was taking an interview with New England, I'm like, okay, that's penciled that in. It just makes too much sense. Like, they had that interview, and 2 days later, you heard nothing. So you just knew, like, it was a foregone conclusion. Mike Vrabel was going to be the head coach of New England. Fine. Makes sense. So what did I say last week? I straight up told everybody on here that my number 1 pick, now that Mike Vrabel's gone, is Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll, no matter where he goes, wins football games. No matter where he goes, creates a competitive and accountable culture. He should be a 2-time Super Bowl champ. He's got the worst decision in Super Bowl history on his resume. But he's also got a Super Bowl championship on his resume and a college championship. One of few coaches to be able to do that at both levels. I said that straight up last week. I would choose Pete Carroll over Ben Johnson right now because it means it's the right thing for the Raiders. A tumultuous franchise for 20 years. You go out and get a coach that can build culture. That simple. And it's not that I didn't want Ben Johnson, guys. I'm trying to make that as clear as possible. I wanted Ben Johnson for the simple fact that I was extremely intrigued. He's a young coach. You're looking at longevity. Was he the right fit for the Raiders right now? No, I think the Raiders dodged a bullet. To me right now, Pete Carroll's the favorite. Pete Carroll is 100% the favorite. What's up, Ralph? Welcome, buddy. I gave you a shout out earlier. You just missed it. Pete Carroll, to me, is 100% the favorite to land the job with the Raiders. And if you're the Raiders, you hire Pete Carroll, and I think you would go after that John Spytek dude out of the Buccaneers because of his familiarity with Brady. Also, he's been an assistant GM there for a few years, including that Super Bowl year where they had a stacked team left and right. I think if you're Tom Brady, you go after Spytek. Just have him waiting in the wings. And then at that point, you talk to Pete Carroll and say, hey, can you work with this guy? He's a young talent. He knows what he's doing. We have plenty of guys that can, negotiate and work with contracts. This guy has an eye for talent. Can you work with him? And we'll see what Pete Carroll says. You're not going to get John Schneider to leave the Seattle Seahawks. If you did, a phenomenal match made in heaven. John Schneider and them guys rarely miss. Seriously. Studs. But I mean it, guys. I think Pete Carroll's the number one dude. I don't care that he's 74 years old. I just don't. The guy doesn't act 74. He's got a ton of energy. The only thing I hope the Raiders do is they're smart. I hope Tom Brady understands and says to Pete Carroll, hey, we understand you're 74. We're going to pay you for the next 5-6 years. We're going to give him a 6-year contract. And if you want to bow out at any time, obviously those are voidable years. But we need to make sure that we're hiring somebody that you believe and that you've worked with over the years that can take over this Raiders team and keep the culture going, because Pete Carroll is going to establish a winning culture. Look at Seattle. Look at USC. No matter where he goes, you can question the antics. You can question how they got players. I don't give a shit. Guess what? They won games and there was accountability and players loved him. That is one of the only coaches I can tell you right now that would get on an interview and say, yeah, I effed up. When he didn't call a run for Marshawn Lynch and they did that interview for that game, Pete Carroll said, I'm sick to my stomach still. And those guys have every right to be mad at me. Like, it was his call to throw the ball. And he owns it. Not many coaches can do that. That's called extreme ownership, guys. Extreme ownership. I want that on this team. I am so sick and tired of us going after these guys that hoo-hoo, rah-rah. Antonio Pierce, right? Perfect example. He won games at the end of the 2023 season against a bunch of teams that had a bunch of injuries. And if I remember correctly, few of them had their starting quarterback playing, with the exception of that great game in Kansas City, but that was a defensive and running the ball effort like crazy. Regardless, Antonio Pierce was fluff. I liked his attitude. I wanted to see him succeed. It just didn't happen because he was inexperienced. And it showed a lot this year. Stupid call. The Raiders should have gone after Jim Harbaugh hard. Do not give up on a winning coach this time around. A coach that is chosen or has had a history of winning games. Do not do that. Pete Carroll should be your only option. And then as far as GM's concerned, I believe John Spytek makes sense. But all of this talk about Liam Cohen, the offensive coordinator out of Tampa Bay, why? What's he going to do to change the rhythm? What's he going to do to change the rhythm of what's going on in the Las Vegas? I don't think he's going to do shit because I don't think he knows how to do it. That was the risk with Ben Johnson. Were you getting a promising young talent? Yes. There are a lot of people who believe he can lead the hell out of men. Wonderful. And I would imagine he soaked up a ton of crap from Dan Campbell over the years. Love it. But I'm just being real with you guys. I would rather go with Pete Carroll with years of experience, a coach that made the playoffs 10 out of the 14 years he was in a place, played in 2 Super Bowls, won a Super Bowl, should have won 2. He's got a national championship under his belt. He's found a ton of success as a coach, and his players absolutely love him. I would rather have that guy than a young gun. I do not know what we're going to get, because being a head coach is a hell of a lot different than just being an offensive coordinator. And nobody talks about that, because you no longer just focus on one phase of the game. You have 3 phases you have to focus on while team building, while trying to build a culture that is of working hard and setting a precedent and preparation. It's hard for coaches to learn how to do that, man. Do we know that Ben Johnson can just turn around and do that? We don't. What's going to help Ben Johnson is who he's looking to hire as of right now for offensive and defensive coordinators. But regardless, I'm just being real with you guys. Pete Carroll is going to be able to fill out a staff. If he brought Gus Bradley back, I wouldn't be upset. Gus Bradley's defenses are simple, and they play really hard. They play really well. And I think we have a ton of players that could fit that as of right now. So bring back Gus Bradley. Please no on Shane Waldron. Absolutely let that guy float down the river. Do not even think about it. Go after an offensive mind that matters. Okay? That's kind of what got Pete in trouble. His guys started leaving because they were having so much success, and he really had a hard time finding somebody to get the Seahawks back over that hump. Also, Russell Wilson was way overpaid. He outperformed his 3rd round contract, no doubt. He's a Super Bowl champion, deserves that respect, but let's be real. During his time in Seattle, He had the best defense we'd seen in football in a decade, or close to a decade, because those Niners defenses were unreal as well within that decade. But one of the best defenses we've seen in a decade. And on top of that, the offensive line with Max Unger and those guys was unreal. He was rarely touched. On top of that, you had Marshawn Lynch in his prime. There was just so many reasons for Russell Wilson to be successful. And that's one thing I think Pete Carroll is going to bring. Like, he's going to bring a lot of wisdom. He may like Aiden O'Connell. He may say, dude, we got a 4th round rookie here, right? 2 years left on his contract. Let's build a team around him. And if we don't like him after this next year, just give him a full year to start, because you're going to have a hard time finding a veteran quarterback to come in at a reasonable rate to be your starting quarterback. Do you want a guy that's going to just get you the playoffs, or do you want to compete? If you want to compete, you build your team, you compete as hard as you can, and you trade up for your guy next year in 2026. That's just realism, guys. I'm being honest with you. Do the Raiders have options? 100%. They're going to have over $100 million in cap space. If you find the right GM that knows how to manage that money, you're going to have a great team next year. Doesn't mean you're going to have a great quarterback. Do I think Aiden O'Connell should go into the season this year being the starter? No. If it has to happen, find an offensive coordinator who knows how to run the football, set up play action, and put our guys in the best position to win. Then play great defense. You do those things, and you're going to see more wins than losses. We could see it's 10-7 team. It's not that difficult, guys. The Raiders just find a way to F it up. They're worse than the Cowboys, and that's saying something. Just reality. So here's what I'm thinking is going to happen, guys. Before the end of the weekend, I do believe that the Las Vegas Raiders will announce that Pete Carroll is the head coach. I have no issues with that. I actually think that's great. I love it. Again, I want a coach that's going to be able to come in with experience on how to build culture, win over players, and accountability. And it's clear that even Antonio Pierce, who talked about it, couldn't quite establish that. Pete Carroll has a history of doing so. He's probably going to bring back a steady guy in Gus Bradley, who was actually a really good defensive coordinator for us, guys. We were improving under him before he was let go and we had coaching change. Offensive coordinator, I'm really nervous about. I'm going to do some more research on that, guys, and give you more of an idea of what I think the Raiders should do. But Pete Carroll, to me, seems like the front runner. If it isn't Pete Carroll, I think they'll go pretty hard after Aaron Glenn. I do believe that the New York Jets are going to do what they can to get Aaron Glenn. I also think the Saints are in that running. Just being real with you folks, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Aaron Glenn ends up on one of those two teams. So, yes, Liam Cohen could totally be an option. I just don't like it. I just don't think it's worth it. You don't have that young franchise quarterback to build a team around. So let's not give a young offensive coordinator that type of stress. Let a veteran coach come in, build your roster, build your culture, right? Add accountability to the list, to the building. See what happens. You're going to start competing. Also, with this coaching lineup in this division, Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh, Sean Payton, I want a guy that's been there before. Nobody better than Pete Carroll. I would have taken Jim Harbaugh last year in a heartbeat. If those two were still for hire right now, I'd still probably lean Jim Harbaugh. Look at what he's done with the Chargers. Reality, it's not going to happen. Bring in a Super Bowl winning coach. A guy that is known to be loved by his players. Yes, he's also known to have had the worst play call or basically okayed the worst play call in Super Bowl history. But let's be real. It's not easy, man. It's not easy making calls in the heat of a game, especially one that matters. Just being honest. But he's still got a ton of experience. He's still a Super Bowl champion. He should be a 2-time Super Bowl champion. Pete Carroll makes all the sense in the world. And then once you get Pete Carroll, you go after guys that are really, really good in the office. I think that GM candidate last week from the Steelers, I think he was a good way to go. I don't know. I just think the Raiders have done a really bad job over the last few years of hiring established guys to come in and make a difference. Antonio Pierce was not established. Josh McDaniels was not established. He was an established OC. He's never been an established head coach. This team needs a culture builder, period. Mark Davis ain't going to do it. He's just not that guy. Let's be real. Tom Brady needs somebody to come in and be a voice, one that's about business, but one that's going to say, hey, if we work hard, we're going to take care of our players. It's a business, man, at the end of the day. I think we're on the right track, but again, I'm calling it right now before the weekend's done. Pete Carroll will be your head coach of the Raiders. And I'm more than fine with that. If I'm wrong next week, I'll totally admit it, because I'm not like these beat writers out here that are going to tell you one thing for 3 weeks and then absolutely get egg on the face because we lost to the Bears. No hard feelings on that too, by the way. Better quarterback situation. And that's what the NFL is about right now. This is the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Kayle Henderson. If you guys have any questions, you want to hit me up anytime about anything that involves Las Vegas sports, please do. Please do. I just noticed that my Las Vegas banner wasn't even up when I was talking about the Raiders. I am an absolute noob. I just wanted to go on a tangent. Let's be real. Just wanted to talk crap about my team. They deserve it. Well deserved. Again, this is Sin City Sports Show presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. If you guys want to hit us up, get on our Twitter or X. I shouldn't say Twitter because Elon will find me. At SinCity_IESR, at Kayle_Henderson. We talk all things Vegas sports. If you missed the show, don't even worry about it. We're on X, we're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube at IE Sports Radio. You can go to IESportsRadio.com. You can check out our portion of the website, IESportsRadio.com/SinCitySports. IE Sports Radio is available on Apple Pods, Google Pods, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, CastBox, Deezer. We're everywhere, man. Take a look at our show. Give us a listen. Give me some pointers if you have them, some criticisms. I'm just trying to give you guys what I see, my realism of the whole situation. That's all I can do for you. As always, folks, we'll see you next Tuesday, 9 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard. As always, folks, love, peace, and hair grease.